Claire's in Kennington. Claire, what would you like to say?
Oh, hi. I think that in a way you're a bit guilty of this false news thing. You've been reporting about the time of the queues, which is actually shorter than it's being publicised, and it's been sensationalised. Because I've read some of the stuff online today. Admittedly, I don't buy newspapers very often anymore. And I don't think they're having a massive go at Meghan Markle. I think they're just pointing out that that's what happened. And from my point of view, I'm not a royalist. I'm not a particular. I like to watch these things because I think they're sort of majestic and the historic importance. And I am sympathetic towards what's happened to him and his mother, but as part of a very formal procession. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were the only couple to hold hands when they were in Westminster Hall as part of that very formal part of the procession.
I know that Zara Phillips and her husband held hands in the hall as well.
They weren't in the processional bit, though, were they?
What difference does that make?
They were to the because I think it's being televised. It's part of this big show of monarchy.
Yes.
And it's very, very formal, and everyone else managed not to do it. And in that way, I think
they didn't want to.
Self-indulgent.
Self-indulgent.
Yeah, I think it's a bit self-indulgent to feel the need to hold hands when they're part of such a formal bit of the procession.
Is there a place we can go to find out when it is and is not acceptable to hold hands with your wife? Because I'd hate to get it wrong myself at a family funeral.
I know it must be absolutely horrendous.
But where do you get your where are you getting your guidance from on this?
I just think the fact that people have noticed it suggests that you don't do it quite then. But I agree, it must be really difficult to actually follow every royal protocol, especially if you haven't been brought up as part of it.
It's the part of the day that they did it in, because I've got pictures in front of me of other couples holding hands in exactly the same room.
From my perspective it is, because I think it's much more noticeable because it gets broadcast around the world.
But you've only noticed it because
we're in Westminster Hall.
You've only noticed it because you looked up all the people being horrible on social media. You don't read the newspapers and you didn't notice it yourself on the television.
Well, to be fair, I think I have noticed it in certain situations.
We're only talking about one situation, aren't we? What other situations? What other situations are you thinking of now, Claire?
Look, I'm quite a tactile person myself, and I'm a big believer in.
Well, don't hold your husband's hand at your grandma's funeral, whatever you do, Claire, because people like you will be slagging you off on national radio. No, it's not different.
It is. I think it is different. I
think because they're better than you,
and it's in Westminster Hall. No, because it's a show, and if you're going to be part of that show,
right? You
just need to.
So, what were the other examples you were thinking of a moment ago?
In sort of formal situations, I guess. But I'm not saying that it's only necessarily only then. Well, as part of the processions and things like that, I think they tend to be more. Slightly more tactile, and I think it is more noticeable. But it's only because
and you have a problem. You have a problem with that. Why?
I don't have a huge problem
Why
with
have you
it
rung me then?
In many ways, because I think my point is that it's being televised, and in that particular point. At that particular point, it's the majesty of Westminster Hall. It's the history of it.
Yeah.
And they are very formal, aren't they? That's the way they do it.
Yes, but I mean,
and some of it is horrible, and it was horrible that he had to walk behind his mother's coffin.
Here is Zara and Mike Tyndall walking up exactly the same room, holding hands.
Come on, James. I've already made that point.
What point is it you think you've made? That they did it 10 minutes earlier, so it's okay. But if they'd done it 10 minutes later, it wouldn't be.
They're not part of the formal procession, and it is formal, and therefore be formal. That's my point.
Okay. And finally, my point again is where does one go to find this guidance? I mean, on what basis are these people deciding that it was inappropriate behaviour?
Well, I think I agree with you that it must be a minefield.
Also, if he's not allowed to wear his uniform, is he still subject to all the other protocols as well?
I don't think anybody actually knows the answer to that, do they?
Well, you do.
No, I don't know the answer to it.
Well, here you are.
I know, but you're trying to make it very sort of black and white. Or,
no, I'm not.
I'm to the other.
I'm quite the opposite. I'm trying to understand why anybody would ever have a problem with two people holding hands.
Because I just think that was just such a formal occasion that you just need to not do it.
What do you think the Queen would have said?
I think she's very politic, isn't she? And
I'd like to hold hands with my wife. I'd like to hold hands with my wife, Grandma. Is that okay with you?
Maybe if she'd have been there, they wouldn't have done it. I don't know.
If she'd been there wouldn't be a funeral, Claire. I think we can all agree on that. But if she was asked her opinion by her grandson, who said, "I'd really like to hold Meghan's hand at this point in proceedings. How do you feel about that?" What do you think she would have said?
I don't know.
Is holding hands at a funeral service a disrespect or a sign of comfort? Today we're diving into the controversy surrounding Harry and Meghan at the Queen's service. Now let's set the scene. Harry and Meghan, a couple known to the world, attended a service for the Queen, a solemn occasion filled with revered traditions and protocols. But amidst the sombre faces and rigid decorum, a moment of warmth was spotted, a simple act of a husband holding his wife's hand. And just like that, a seemingly innocuous gesture sparked a wildfire of debates and opinions. On one side of the fence, we have John from Essex, representing a faction of the public that views the hand-holding as a blatant disregard for protocol. John argues that the couple, fully aware of the customary practices, chose to disregard them, turning a solemn occasion into their own personal moment. He cites the actions of other attendees, all adhering to the unspoken rules of decorum, as proof of Harry and Meghan's deviance. Then we have James, who brings a different perspective to the table. James questions the outrage, pointing out that Harry was merely comforting Meghan in a moment of shared grief. He challenges John's argument, asking if the same level of indignation would have been directed towards Charles and Camilla had they held hands. James also brings up an interesting point, questioning if the controversy is really about protocol or if it's about the couple's perceived need for attention. There's no denying that Harry and Meghan have frequently found themselves under the scrutiny of the public and the media. But is this scrutiny justified, or is it, as James suggests, a result of some parts of the media conditioning people to be outraged by their every move? As you can see, opinions are divided. But is this really a sign of disrespect, or is it a deeper issue at hand? Is it about a couple's inability to adhere to protocol, or is it about a society's inability to accept that grief and the comfort we seek in such times isn't always expressed in the same way? It seems the controversy isn't just about holding hands, it's about much more. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this issue. Now let's unpack the idea that Harry and Meghan are attention-seeking. The notion that Harry and Meghan's hand-holding was a calculated move to steal the limelight is quite a stretch, wouldn't you agree? This argument suggests that the couple were more interested in making headlines than paying their respects. But let's consider this. Harry and Meghan are two of the most famous people on the planet. They're under constant scrutiny, with every move dissected by the media and the public. So could it be that their actions are often misconstrued as attention-seeking, when in reality they are simply living their lives? Let's not forget, this was a state funeral, a moment of profound grief and respect. Would it not be somewhat cynical to believe that amidst such solemnity, the pair were plotting a hand-holding spectacle for the sake of attention? And let's consider Harry himself. He was mourning the loss of his grandmother, a woman he had a deep and personal relationship with. Is it not possible that in such a moment he sought the comfort of his wife, as anyone might do in a similar situation? Moreover, the notion that Harry and Meghan are always seeking attention seems to ignore the fact that the couple stepped back from royal duties to lead a more private life, away from the relentless glare of the media. Does that sound like the actions of a pair desperate for publicity? It's worth considering that the hand-holding controversy may say more about our society and its obsession with celebrity than it does about Harry and Meghan. In a world where every gesture is amplified and dissected, it's easy to distort the intentions behind simple human actions. So, are Harry and Meghan truly attention-seeking, or is this another case of media-induced outrage? Perhaps it's time we stopped treating the couple as characters in a royal soap opera, and started seeing them for what they truly are. Two people navigating life's challenges under an intense spotlight. Next, we explore the protocol argument. Did Harry and Meghan really break royal protocol? The question here is not whether they held hands. We all know they did. The question is why this hand-holding has become a controversy in the first place. It seems that some people believe it was a breach of royal protocol. But is it really? Let's break it down. Royal protocol is a set of traditional rules and conventions that dictate the behaviour and actions of the royals during official engagements. This includes everything from how they dress to how they interact with each other and the public. But nowhere in these rules is it explicitly stated that a married couple cannot hold hands during a funeral service. So why then are Harry and Meghan facing such backlash? The answer might lie not in what they did, but in how they differ from other royal couples. Consider this. Why must Harry and Meghan's grief mirror that of William and Kate? Why is it that every single move they make, no matter how small, gets dissected and turned into some grand controversy? It seems that the intense scrutiny they face is not because of a breach of protocol, but rather a deviation from the norm. And this deviation, this difference, is what really seems to be the issue here. It's not about whether they broke protocol, but whether they fit into the traditional image of a royal couple. But here's the thing. Harry and Meghan aren't your traditional royal couple. They've made it clear from the start that they intend to carve their own path. But this difference, this deviation from the norm, is not a bad thing. In fact, it's quite refreshing. It shows that they are human, that they are not afraid to show their emotions, even in the face of intense scrutiny and criticism. So, did Harry and Meghan break royal protocol? The answer is no, but they did break the mould. And in doing so, they've shown us that it's okay to be different, to express our emotions, to be human. It seems the issue isn't as simple as breaking protocol. Could there be a bias at play here? Let's turn our attention to the role of the media in this controversy. Media, often hailed as the fourth pillar of democracy, holds immense power in shaping public opinion. But with power comes responsibility. The question is, has the media been responsible in its portrayal of Harry and Meghan? This couple, who have consistently been in the spotlight, have faced a barrage of criticism for simply being themselves. Their every action, no matter how mundane or human, is scrutinised, dissected, and often vilified. But why? What fuels this relentless pursuit? James suggests that the media has conditioned people to be outraged by Harry and Meghan's actions, and it's hard to argue against that. The narrative that has been spun around this couple often seems to be one of controversy and scandal, even when the actions in question are as simple and as human as offering comfort to a loved one in a moment of grief. This constant vilification and the perpetuation of a negative narrative can have a profound impact. It can shape public opinion and stir up controversy where there should be none. It can create a hostile environment that's devoid of understanding and empathy. How is it fair that a couple's grief is turned into a spectacle? How is it right that a simple human gesture is blown out of proportion and transformed into a scandal? It's not right, it's not fair, and it's certainly not responsible journalism. The media's role in this controversy raises questions about bias and unfair scrutiny. It forces us to examine the power dynamics at play and to question the narratives we're being fed. It's high time we recognise the media's role in shaping public opinion and held them accountable for the narratives they spin. After all, we're talking about real people with real emotions, not characters in a soap opera. The media's role in this controversy raises questions about bias and unfair scrutiny. It's time we held them accountable for the narratives they spin. To wrap up, let's summarise the points we've discussed. We began with the controversy surrounding Harry and Meghan's hand-holding at the Queen's service, a seemingly simple gesture that has spiralled into a whirlwind of debate. The arguments against their actions focused on the perceived disrespect to the royal protocol and the apparent desire to draw attention. But does this hold water? We delved into the supposed attention-seeking claim, dissecting its foundations. Is the act of a husband comforting his wife in a moment of profound grief really a bid for attention? Or is it simply a human reaction, an instinctive need to seek and provide solace in the face of loss? We also examined the protocol argument. Yes, royal events come with their own set of rules, but does the rule book explicitly ban gestures of comfort? Does it dictate how one should grieve? And more importantly, should it? The role of the media in all this cannot be overlooked. Media plays a significant part in shaping public opinion, and it's worth noting how a simple act of holding hands has been framed as a grand controversy. Could it be that the media has conditioned us to react with outrage at the mere existence of Harry and Meghan? Finally, we circle back to the crux of the matter. At the heart of all this is a man who has lost his grandmother, a woman grieving the loss of a woman who welcomed her into the family. Their grief may not mirror that of others, but does that make it any less valid? In the grand scheme of things, should a simple gesture of comfort really be cause for such outrage? Perhaps it's time we reassessed our priorities, focused less on the minutiae of royal protocol and more on the bigger picture. Empathy, understanding, compassion, these are the virtues we should strive for, not nitpicking over how a couple chose to comfort each other in their time of grief.